Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of It's Not All Rainbows. I'm your host, Lindsay Goodman. I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, and I'm also a survivor of abuse in a queer relationship. I'm here to help you figure out what's really going on in your relationship to help get you out and on the road to recovery. Today, I'm going to talk to you about using social media not just as survivors of abuse or friends of survivors of abuse, but as people. I've had some things come up lately, just some feelings, and I kind of want to share them with you. So if this isn't something you're interested in, I do apologize. I'll try to be back next week with more like specific abuse content, but I feel like this has been a really huge part of my healing, and hopefully it can be a part of yours as well. Before we dive in, I will talk about my struggles and successes this week. A struggle is that I'm really tired. And I'm on vacation. That's my success. I'm in Mexico City right now visiting my very, very dear friend of 16 years, and we're having a wonderful time. And it's just been so special to be able to be here. I'm very thankful for that. And I can't stop being tired. I'm getting older, so I'm guessing that like as the years continue to go by, obviously travel is going to be a little bit more exhausting. It's always been kind of, but like, you can cope with it much better when you're 25. Um, but I'm just like when we're not like doing something, I'm just dragging, like I'm just laying in the bed. But at the same time, that's a success because I've always just been such a go, go, go person and being able to slow down and be like, hey, I'm in Mexico City. I'm visiting my friends. I don't have to be just going nonstop. Let's do this. Um, So, yeah, real quick and easy for this week. Um, let's see. So, social media. I have had some really mixed feelings about social media lately, and I'm hoping that I can really deliver this in the way that I'm wanting to deliver it. It's been something that I've really struggled with describing. I couldn't really put words to it until today. I came on my stories and I talked about like some of the reasons why I haven't been posting as much on social media. If you don't know, I have multiple social media channels now. Originally, it was on one place, but I separated um, I have like my abuse awareness accounts, and I have my like this is just me kind of talking and living my life. There's not really a niche; it's just me. And so I came on there this morning and just talked about like why I've been struggling. And I just think that social media it's a tough world. It's not like real life. Obviously, you know that. There's some really beautiful things that come with social media and there's some really nasty things. And in the past couple of months, I've been really paying attention to like what goes on in people's comment sections and just how much people are hurting and how much it goes, I think, unnoticed in our real lives, like our day to day lives. We're just walking around and maybe we don't have anyone in our real lives to talk to, or maybe we don't have access to therapy, which is true for a lot of people. And we have a lot of complicated feelings and we are triggered by a lot of things we see on social media. For example, I see a lot of hate and judgment in like the mom arena. There's like weird stuff going on book talk. Like people are arguing over whether audiobooks count as reading. Like, is that really like just like judgment? Like, is that something we need to be judging people for? And then I spend a lot of time in the travel spaces, and there's like judgment on how people travel. Like, you should travel like this, you should not do this, you should not do that. There's some things we shouldn't do as travelers when we go to other countries. There's obviously ways that we should behave to be respectful to other cultures and things like that. And it's kind of common sense, but also not for some people if you've never traveled. So, like, yeah, absolutely. Talk about cultural things and stuff like that, but there's like a lot of just judgment in the comment sections where people stay, how they choose to travel, when they choose to travel, how much, how little, does this country count, whatever. And so I wanted to come on here and talk with you about caring for ourselves as social media users, whether you're a creator or not, if you're posting or you're just watching, it can be a really ugly world. And if you've followed me for a while, you know that, when I post abuse videos, I get a lot of hate, to be honest with you. I get a lot of people who say that I'm lying. I get a lot of people who say I should just get over it. Um, or, stop talking about it, or that talking about it means that I can't get over it and I'm still hung up on my ex or whatever. I get a lot of people who say that's not abuse, especially with covert stuff. Um, and those things don't really bother me anymore personally because I've been doing this for so long, but I have fear that someone else will see those kinds of comments and think that that is true and that they shouldn't be talking about their abuse or they are doing something wrong. And so I guess I want you to know that what happens on social media isn't real. And I know that sounds so obvious, right? It's like we all know that it's not real. We all know that people get paid to say certain things. We all know that some people lie or some people mislead or some people are whatever. But I want you to know that you don't have to be in any space that's not serving you. You don't have to follow anyone that's not serving you, as well as myself. People can do a lot of harm on social media, and I think a lot of times we feel like there's nothing we can do to avoid it. It's like, oh my gosh, this account again, or oh my gosh, I saw something talking about this again, and it was really upsetting. You can take care of yourself and you can release yourself from those obligations that we've decided we all have with social media. And so if you're following an account and it's helping you and you're growing and you're, getting something out of it, awesome. If you're feeling like you're seeing a lot of content in whatever niche you like really enjoy and it's super toxic, start blocking those people, start muting those people. Um, and try to search for other people or ask recommendations for like just I don't know, for example, if you're on Book Talk and you're starting to be like, no, you know what, I don't like these creators anymore. I liked them for a time, but now I'm feeling like there's a lot of weird whatever. Ask for recommendations. Say I really am looking for some bookstagrammers. I'm just trying to keep it neutral here, who are authentic and who are sharing good and they're non-judgmental and they're supportive of all types of learning because people learn and take in knowledge in different ways, whatever. The reason why I'm talking about this on my podcast that's about abuse is because I feel like, I mean, we're all vulnerable. We all have trauma. We're all out here trying to learn and grow and not repeat what's happened to us before. Um, but I feel like social media, I don't want to say especially as survivors, but as survivors, we are just so vulnerable. And especially if you're just coming out of these relationships and you're really looking for spaces of support and growth and validation and education, but you're also seeing a lot of other triggering things. Like for me, when I first left, I still don't really like to see it. I could not stand to see lesbian relationships that like they just met and they're already posting and they're talking about how amazing the relationship is. That really bothered me because I'm like, you might be in danger. Maybe you're okay, maybe you're not. And I couldn't stand to see that stuff. So again, I know this is a little bit off topic, it's a little bit random, but social media, if you are using social media and you are a human who's trying to heal, maybe you're healing from abuse, maybe you're a cycle breaker and you're trying not to pass on to your kids what was passed on to you. Maybe you're whatever it is that you're trying to heal from, which if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are trying to heal from something. You're not one of those people who's just like, no, my life's fine. I don't have that much trauma. My childhood was great. You're probably not listening if that's you. Um, but it can be a very dangerous place for you. It can be a very dangerous place. So, for example, I'm like I was saying, I um I'm no longer bothered by the like rude comments towards me on the abuse stuff. I don't love the rude comments towards me about like I remember I took a break from social media like in December of last year because someone said something that was just like real off the cuff, really didn't have anything to do with anything. I'm like, I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of them because it can be really yucky out there and I also get sick of how fake it can be and how much pressure there is, like if you are a creator, to post in a very specific way. And you know what I'm talking about. And I've done it before. Like there was a time where I was a little bit more influencery. And I did enjoy it at that time, but it just feels really uncomfortable to me now. And I'm really at 36 and a half years old craving authenticity and growth and positive interactions. And that's not to say that like we all have to be the same and just be like, life is good, life is good. Obviously not, because I talk about hard things all the time. But by positive interactions, I mean life giving, growth, inspiring, authentic, meaningful, whatever, right? We don't have to be agreeing, but having a conversation that helps us both learn or helps us both, whatever, whatever. So that's really what I'm craving right now. And I'm not sure, maybe that's where you are too, but I want to just get kind of give you permission. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm the only person who can tell you this. You know this. I want to give you permission to release yourself from the funkiness of social media. It's very hard to avoid because it's just out there. I try not to spend too much time just scrolling, but I spend a lot of time just literally scrolling past, or on TikTok, not interested, not interested, not interested, because there's so much out there that's just not amazing for us. Again, like I was saying, social media can be used for such good, and I have used it for good, and I have worked really hard to use it for good, and I've also used it for absolutely nothing. I hope that I haven't used it for harm. Um, but as we all know, especially during really tense times, which has been a lot lately in our world and in the United States where I live, and I'm sure in lots of other places, it's just very tense. And social media, I think for me a couple years ago, not to say that there weren't people who were still saying mean things to me, it was a safer place. I had my place where I could come on and share and heal. And yes, I got yucky stuff, but it was really a nice place. And now it feels less like a safe place. And I'm not sure why that changed, and I'm not sure why that's going on, but I don't know. I just wanted to come on and share that with you. I sometimes my topics are really niche. It makes sense. And sometimes they're a little bit off, but my whole goal here is to help people with healing. And it helps me with my healing too, to be able to share these things and share my processes and how I deal with things and what I'm going through. And my hope is that just maybe, again, maybe this isn't what you needed this week, but maybe you're listening to this and you're going, you know what, I've been feeling really funky about social media too, and I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to clean out who I'm following, or I'm going to add some. I actually don't know how to do it, but like you can like mute certain topics or something. And I'm going to really protect my mental health right now. Um, and I go through phases where sometimes I'm like, social media ain't it. It's not where I need to be right now. And I go through phases where it is a little bit safer, or I like what I'm being shown. Um, and it's an okay place to be. But again, there's just so much societal pressure. Like if you have social media, like we're on it, we're scrolling to escape, or because we're tired, or because we just want a little brain break, but really we're just like being little zombies. I do too. And there's so much pressure to be posting and be present. And again, even if it's just for your family and even a private account, it's like, oh, I gotta post this so the aunties can see my little girl doing whatever, or if you're a content creator and you're niche down, you're like, I have to post at a certain time every day, and I have to do this and I have to do that. And there's just so much pressure. And honestly, you guys, like life is so short. And we get to choose. Again, we can't really choose exactly what we see because social media is just throwing all this stuff at us. And, you can do the best you can to like block what you don't want and like avoid it. Um, But yeah, we get to choose who we interact with in real life. I've talked about this before. I've talked about setting boundaries. I've talked about ending relationships, friendships. Sometimes it's your sister. Sometimes it's, someone you've known your entire life. Even if it's just temporary, we have to protect our mental health. We have to be able to heal in safe spaces. And we get to pick and choose, for the most part, who gets to be in those spaces. And the same goes for social media. We can kind of one of those things where like if we can, I don't know, I don't like to be like it's our fault that we're not feeling good about social media, because like me too, I've looked at stuff I shouldn't be looking at, like just like, oh man, this is on the feed so I gotta watch it. But it's kind of the same as like, I don't know, this is a really weird example, this popped in my head. If I'm diabetic and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep eating, no, donuts 3 times a day, um, and I'm knowingly being like, well, this isn't really good for me, but I'm going to do it anyway, or whatever it is. Kind of like that with social media, where again, it can be used for really good. It can be totally neutral. It can just be, oh, I'm going to swipe a little bit, or scroll a little bit, and then I'm going to be on just like seeing what my friends are up to, and that's it. And sometimes it can really harm us. And again, I want to drive home the point that when you are leaving an abusive relationship or you're in one, you are so vulnerable. And maybe you're not there. Maybe you never were abused, but you just like my podcast and you want to learn about this stuff. But you're still vulnerable sometimes. You're still going through hard times sometimes. Maybe you're in between jobs, or maybe you're whatever, and you're going to be even more vulnerable and susceptible to like the hate and yucky and the whatever. So let's all, again, I'm not trying to sit here being like, this is a novel idea. I bet you've never thought about that. You could take a break, or you could kind of monitor more what you're doing on social media. But I don't know. Let's all, I don't know, let's all try to try to look out for each other a little more and give each other permission to just exist and not feel pressured or obligated or anything like that. Let's take care of ourselves. Okay. On that note, I'm all done. Um, I do still offer one-on-one coaching. If you're interested in that. Also, if you're interested in coming back to group coaching, please send me a DM. I've been on the fence about adding group coaching sessions again, but if you're listening, you're like, yes, please DM me just so I know that there's still interest. You can DM me on either Instagram, it's fine. But the Lindsay Goodman or Lindsay Goodman Coaching, that's fine. And yeah, you can find me at Lindsay Goodman Coaching. You can find me at the Lindsay Goodman. You can go to my website, lindsaygoodman.com. If you want to have a coaching session with me, you can go to calendly.com/Lindsay Goodman. And like I said throughout this entire podcast, please go do something nice for yourself. Go drink some water. I'll be back next week with more.